Hello, we are pleased to be working this fall with Leo Brea, the CEO of Veconinter, and thank you for being the participating entrepreneur in the 2026 Launch Case Competition.
Hi, Professor. The pleasure is mine. Thank you for considering us.
So, Leo, what is demurrage and detention?
All right. So, demurrage and detention in maritime is basically when the importer or the exporter, the consignee, is quote unquote renting the container from a shipping carrier or using it through a freight forwarder. They have an allotted amount of time to use that box, that container. So, in layman's terms, if the consignee uses that box for a period of time greater than the contracted time, they get penalized on a daily basis. And that's essentially what demurrage and detention is. Demurrage is when that penalty starts accruing while the container is still at the port, and detention is when it starts to accrue after the container with the goods has been picked up.
And Veconinter runs the accounting for this on the back end, correct?
Well, we actually do all the equipment management for our clients. So essentially, once that container arrives at the port, we take over from an equipment control perspective, and then that will translate into any potential billing on the back end, and then obviously all the collection efforts that we also are responsible for.
And what is the difference between the consignor and the consignee?
Well, it's pretty much well, the consignor would be the company that is shipping at port of origin, and then the consignee is really who's picking up, who's going to receive those goods at the port of destination. So typically, an inter is really working with the consignees, not the shipper.
And how did you get into something like this? Obviously, the company is several years old. You and I have known each other for over 20 years, but how did you come up with the idea to focus on demurrage and detention?
Well, the company's 38 this year, was born in 1988, and I didn't come up with the idea. My father did. So
Felicitaciones, by the way.
yeah,
So,
thank you. So really, it was my father who has an extended, uh, most of his life has been revolving around maritime, whether it be military, merchant marines, and also on uh, the white collar administrative portion of the industry. So he was the one that started and thought it would be a potential opportunity to offer services that really focused primarily on demurrage management.
two last questions for you. One is what keeps you up at night most about the future of Econinter?
So, this question, which you have posed to me on a yearly basis, I think this may be the first time in a while that I may change my answer. So usually my answer would have been, okay, well, listen, we're growing. We're currently in over 40 markets. Our number one competitor tends to be our clients, right? So when they see that the mess, so to speak, that they have handed to us starts to get really organized, they're like, okay, maybe we're going to give it a shot from now on. Thanks for Inter, but we'll take it from here. So that's one thing that used to be, and is still one of my concerns. But now the other one that has been coming up to the forefront at a very, very fast clip is how AI can really change the future of Econinter. So that is really one of the things that I'm starting to quote unquote worry about. How can AI maybe even eliminate in the worst case scenario, what we're offering as a company. So we either have to, figure out how we incorporate it, or we need to start really diversifying our value proposition.
And perhaps the most important question I'm going to ask you is that when you come to us at BU, you will have completed your 20th Ironman or some ridiculously large number. What number are you up to, and how are you able to do so many of these?
Well, it's not 20. I think this will be number 14. I'd have to count.
Oh, pardon.
Yeah,
Okay.
number 14, but still, yeah, it's been more than a few. And it's really, listen, I've learned a lot with Iron Man, and those lessons really have translated my personal life and especially in business. It's really all about time management. You sleep when you can, you train when you can, and really there's not much downtime. So if you want to fit it in, It's really about consistency and discipline, and those are traits that I really have been able to transfer to other sectors of my life.
Leo Brea, thank you again for being the participating entrepreneur for our 2026 launch case competition and for making the effort to be so supportive of our incoming Boston University students.
Thank you to you, Professor Stoller, and I'm definitely looking forward to the trip later on this month.